Welcome to Lounging with Laurie, the Sisterhood Collective podcast. If you've ever wondered what small steps can lead to big change, or how to break through challenges to create a fulfilling life, you have come to the right place. I'm Loz, and this podcast is all about real women sharing their stories, sharing their lessons, and the actions that have helped them grow and thrive. With a mix of my own experiences and inspiring conversations with women just like you, we're creating a space where you'll laugh, learn, and leave ready to take action. Let's dive in. This is Lounging with Laurie, the Sisterhood Collective podcast. It's very early on the weekend here, and what I love about the weekends is that it's just so quiet. And every morning I take Lulu out for a walk just around the area here, which is just, it's so peaceful. And sometimes I'm listening to podcasts, sometimes I'm listening to nothing and just embracing the silence. It depends where my mind's at. But I do listen to books as well. And one of the books I've recently been listening to, which is what I really wanted to share with you today, was a book called Stop Checking Your Likes by a lady called Susie Moore. And I thought I'd share a little bit about that with you today because it kind of hit home. I feel like we all have this pressure of external validation in today's world. And whether it's, through the social media, through your career, your personal relationships or family, I mean, I've definitely got caught up in that external validation. And as much as I'm trying to break free from it, I'm still doing it. I'm still waiting for approval. I'm still seeking reassurance. I am checking my likes, and I don't want to be doing that. And I think you've spoken to me about, not you've heard me say before, don't worry about what anyone else thinks. And I am trying to be that person too, where I don't care what other people think because they don't know my story, they don't know my reasons, and why should it matter what someone else thinks? You're making your own decisions and choices to walk your path and, narrate your own story here. So anyway, I want to get away from that a little bit. And I feel like the best way to be better at something is just to be more aware of it, and when you're doing it. Especially what I'm seeing, with some of my friends' children and things like that is they feel like, or they measure their worth based on the reactions of others. And I feel like we still do that today, but true confidence comes from within. And so in this episode, I kind of wanted to talk about that and getting your power back. We really do give weight, way too much weight, to the opinions of others. And most of the time, people aren't even paying attention as much as we think. Even sitting in the gym sometimes, or, I remember having brand new clients come to the gym and they were so nervous about other people seeing them. And even myself, actually, if I hadn't trained for a while and then I went off and did a CrossFit class in someone else's gym, I'd be a little bit nervous about the fact that I wasn't as fit as I was, or I'm not lifting, as heavier weights as I used to. And I just remember someone once saying to me, mate, nobody is looking at you in that class. They're too busy worrying about themselves. And it was a really important moment for me because that is actually when I truly realized that no one cared and no one was watching me. They were worrying about themselves. And so I shouldn't be worried about being there. In fact, I should be proud of myself. It's the opposite, right? Proud of myself for just being there and giving it a go, moving again, because it's something that is, near and dear to my heart type thing. So, when I think earlier in my career, because, I'm getting on a little bit now, I think about back to mentoring, business, some of the speaking gigs that I've done. I felt this pressure to present myself in a certain way, of course, and who doesn't, even when you think about it from a personal branding perspective. And I've always thought that I've had to be ultra polished, and serious to be taken seriously. In fact, I think we're getting too serious as we get older. Right now, actually, I'm trying to bring back the fun. But anyway, I'll go back to what I was saying. The more I let my real personality show, I was even doing this just yesterday, the stronger my connections come. I used to be happier and funnier and all these things. And I want to bring that back rather than worrying about if someone doesn't like my joke or doesn't like what I'm wearing that day or just doesn't agree with me, because I think that's okay. Because many of us have been raised to be these good girls, to be liked, to be agreeable, to be accommodating. But that often comes at the cost of our own authenticity. And that's not sitting well with me. And I don't want to be that person anymore. I think I may have told you this story before. It was I loved being in the army, by the way. I was in the army for, almost 14 years. But what I realized when I got out was that I suddenly had a voice, and I had that. It was a time for me when I really started to work out who I was, what my own personal values were, who I wanted to be, what I actually thought about things, because for so long, I'd been told how to think, what to do, when to do it, and all those good things. And like I said, had a great time in there. It gave me some amazing and invaluable skills and friendships and relationships and all those things. But for me, with regards to finding myself, that started after the fact, where I didn't have to get permission to do anything anymore. I didn't have to ask for opinions. So what I've decided is this week, because I'm all about awareness and trying to be aware of this, and being impacted by this book by Susie Moore. This week, I am going to try to identify and track any moment when I catch myself seeking some sort of external validation. So, say I do a post on the socials, going in there to checking who's seen it or how many likes I've gotten, or if I'm asking for opinions, or if there's a moment even when I'm holding back my own thoughts. I'm not saying something because it's against what somebody else thinks. And I'm going to try and write it down and capture those this week. So I'm going to write down how I feel in those moments and then reflect on it next week, because I want to be able to be better in those moments and shift my focus back to being authentic. You are not here to be universally liked. You are here to be you, or in my case, me. And so that's what I'm going to be working on. Confidence isn't something you're born with, I don't think. I mean, it grows through action and experience and exposure. When I think back to every big move that I've made, from changing careers, moving countries, jumping on stage the first time, getting in front of people to even, run classes or give lectures. Yes, it's been a little bit scary, depending on the circumstances, and I get different feelings from it. Actually, I was lecturing the other day, and I was explaining to them, in front of that sort of crowd, I'm not nervous or anything. But when I get out on stage, if I'm doing some sort of motivational speech or something like that, yes, I have the sweaty palms, and I've got those butterflies going through my belly, and I've got a few things that I do to try to get past those nerves, or to bring back the confidence that I do. Because in those moments, I don't feel ready. But over time, you find these little actions that you can take, like I have, and I start to build this confidence by doing the action. So getting out on stage, not waiting for the right moment, or the right setting. And if you're wondering what those things are that I do, I can digress here a little bit. One, I ring my bestie and she's like, mate, you've got this, rah, 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 because obviously she's my biggest advocate. Or I have, and everybody should have one of these, I have this anthem, like a song that I like to play. And so then when I'm getting ready for that event, doing my hair and, sorting this out, which I haven't got on today, sorry about that, I play the music and I'm singing and I feel confident and pumped up, and I listen to it, as I'm like walking to the event or anything like that. And if you look at like big events, these big people like Tony Robbins or, Mel Robbins, and that, when they go out on stage, they do play their anthems or these musics to hype people up. And when you feel this, you get this hype and this powerful feeling, you have all the confidence in the world. So you get out there, you take on the stage, and then you look around, you're like, oh dear God. And then, you get the sweaty palms, the armpits are going and all that jazz. And then for the first 2 or 3 minutes, you're like a bit quivery, and then you come back to the norm, and you get comfortable into your speech or your chat or whatever that is. I assume it's the same if you were even going bungee jumping or doing something scary like that. But I haven't done it yet. Anyway, going back, I feel like we often hesitate to take these risks because we feel this need for more experience, potentially more training, more certainty. I guess you could class that as imposter syndrome, which is so common. I think we all have a little bit of that, as to what degree and, what you feel. That's different for everybody. But, maybe finding what it is that is, your biggest supporter or your person or accountability that pushes you to take that extra step forward in taking those actions is the best thing that you can do. So things like taking a small action, even this week, something that pushes you out of your comfort zone, whether it's big, whether it's small. Maybe you're signing up to a marathon, maybe you're signing up to a Tough Mudder, maybe you're taking a course, maybe you're going for a job that it's a dream job, you really want to do it, you don't think you've necessarily got the qualifications for it. In fact, you know what? I was listening to a podcast the other day, I think, or a YouTube video, something, and it said that most women don't apply for these dream jobs and things like that because they don't necessarily have the qualifications, and or they go through this imposter syndrome, fear, self-doubt, and they just stop. They don't even apply for it. Whereas men, even men with only 60% of the qualifications, will go for the jobs. They take those risks and just throw it out there for good measure. And that's what I think we need to be better at doing. So anyway, think about an action maybe that you could take this week that does throw you outside your comfort zone. Big, small, doesn't matter. Make sure it's something that you would normally hesitate on, that you're not really sure about. I would love to hear what that is, because when I hear from you guys, it gives me inspiration and also courage to keep going as well. I don't want to just be all talk here. I want to be walking and talking the same path. So when I hear back from you guys, it helps me keep carrying on down this track as well. So if you do something exciting this week and get outside your comfort zone, no matter how small it is, please send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. So I think confidence isn't a personality trait. It's a muscle. And if we treat it that way, the more we use it, the stronger it will get. I feel like that's proven. You speak to people that have been out on stage many, many times, or, they're radio hosts, and they did the first radio episode and they're nervous, but over time becomes more comfortable. And so it's definitely a muscle, this confidence thing. So we can all do it. I just think we need to get outside our comfort zone more often. And then we train that muscle and life is good. So back to seeking universal approval. Well, I don't know about you, but for me, it's exhausting and I feel like it's unnecessary. You will never be for everyone, and that's okay. And I've heard that many, many times. I've got a lot of people that want me to fail, a lot of people that don't want the best for me. There's a lot of people that judge, and it's not just me. It's also for, the things that I'm doing, and I'm sure you feel it too. But I don't want to sit in that negativity, and I don't really want to hear it, or I don't want to buy into it. I have definitely stepped away from certain friendships. I've stepped away from businesses, or, even environments, locations, because of these reasons. And I've struggled with guilt because of it as well. Like, not being able to do everything for everybody or be there for everyone. But trying to please everyone, it's so draining, and it's this extra stress that you just don't need. So I feel like letting go, for me, it's created space for the right people and the right opportunities. And that particular thought process and action is definitely getting stronger for me as I get older. And I'm getting very good at this one, I think. Maybe not very good, just getting better. And I'll take that as a win, definitely. When I step away from these friendships, for example, I'm still grateful for the friendship and I'm grateful for all the times that we've had, but it's not for me right now. And there's nothing saying that the friendships won't come back together again, but there isn't space for it right now. I've learned the lessons that I've needed, and the biggest one is right now I need to walk away. And what I'm noticing in regards to business is that sometimes I hold on to things just that little bit too long. Like I should be taking that step away earlier. And in fact, this is with everything. This is a lesson. If you're starting to think about whether it's time to move on from something, maybe it is time. For me, I notice I'm always a few months or a few years too long in that place that I shouldn't be. And anyway, the biggest lesson here is letting go, create space for better opportunities and better things, I think. And then just embrace those lessons that we've already learned. Many of us are people pleasers, by the way. We say yes when we mean no. We don't set boundaries because we fear rejection. I remember back in my Sydney days, It was a gentleman that I went through the Royal Military College with years and years ago. Lovely guy. He was the joker of the class. And I said something to him. I think I must have been having a barbecue or something. I said, "Hey, mate, do you want to come to my barbecue?" Blah, blah, blah. He said no. I said, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Loz, what I've learned is that I say no to most things because the person then doesn't expect me to be there. And, you get past that moment of them being disappointed." He said, "But then if I can honestly and legitimately make it, I go." And he goes, "And they are so much more happier that I've made it when they didn't think I would." And he goes, "It makes me feel better and I don't overcommit." And I really liked that kind of idea, because if I say I'm going to do something, I generally do it. I feel terrible if I go back on my word because it means something. So I kind of liked his little take. I don't know if I should do it all the time, say no to everything and then just rock up to things, but I did like his perspective on that one. It was quite interesting. So many of us are people pleasers. We say yes when we mean no, and I think we need to get better at setting up those boundaries. But we do this because we do fear rejection. And this is a very, very much a reflection episode for me, because I feel like expectations. I am going to, as part of my week this week, identify an expectation. I want to identify a person or something that I'm doing in my life that is draining me. Maybe you could do the same. Make a plan to either release or set a stronger boundary around it. What would that be? I need to think about that one, but I am going to do it. I'll report back in the Sisterhood Collective lounge room with all the women in there. Maybe you could do the same thing. We're not for everybody, and I think that's a superpower. Oh, I like that. Yes. I heard this once before. Every rejection is actually a redirection. That's in the book. Let me go back to, there was this time that I had an interview with Aldi, the supermarket, but I thought it was Audi, the car, which is luxury, more of a luxury brand in my mind, particularly back then. I was so embarrassed when the lady, I said to her, "Oh, blah, 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 Audi, rah, rah, rah." And the HR representative speaks back to me and she goes, "Oh, well, something, 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 Aldi." And she really emphasized the supermarket brand. I was so embarrassed when I heard that. But, I went through the process anyway, through fear, I guess, of messing up the name brand and saying I'm going to do something. So I went through this entire experience, which, by the way, was weeks and several interviews, and it was a massive process. Anyway, I got the job eventually as well. But that particular experience, it led me to something even better. And it had a place card and it gave me new experiences. Even when I quit the job only like a couple of months later, that was my first major job outside the army where, I had to do everything I was told. So saying yes to a job and then a few months later realizing it wasn't for me, and then having the courage to write the letter and say, this is not for me. And then the GM saying, "You need to front into the main office with the car that they'd given me and the mobile phone and do an exit interview with the GM, who is the one that hired me." And he was so angry with me. And I did feel confident walking into there. And I think, as I said earlier in this episode, that was the moment for me where I felt like I had a voice and I had choice. I could choose my next step and I can write my own story. And you can't tell me I have to say or that I'm a bad person because I'm doing the right thing for me. It's just reframing, a fear or a rejection, and then recognizing what you've learned from that experience, because it will lead to something better. Not it may lead, it will lead to something better. When one door closes, another opens. This is true. You know it's true. I know it's true. I've felt it many, many, many times. Can't always see it in the moment, but I really do sit in that now. When something goes wrong, there is a lesson to be learned. And I might not see it right that moment, but I know everything is going to be okay. Rejection isn't failure. It's just that detour sign. It points you somewhere better. And that creates memories. And I like that. So anyway, this book, it's called Stop Checking Your Likes by Susie Moore. It's really reinforced my commitment to my 2025 word, which is authenticity. The only validation that truly matters is the one you give yourself. Everything else, it's just noise. So from here, I invite you into the Sisterhood Collective Lounge Room. At the moment, it's a free room on Facebook where there's workshops and we share tips and tricks. But maybe share your reflections or some wins that you've had, maybe from even listening to this podcast, or anything that you'd like to share with me. You can DM us as well. I would love to just hear from you in general, and that would be fabulous. But thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. I'll see you again soon. Thank you for joining us on the Sisterhood Collective podcast. Remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And if you want to be the first to hear what is new at Sisterhood Collective, you can find out more on our Instagram, or you can sign up to receive our weekly newsletter and let the good times continue to roll. Now it's time to turn your clear vision into bold action. I'm Laurie Drummond, your host, and until next time, keep striving to live that best life. Take care, and we'll see you soon.